So, hello there, and welcome back to another Night of the Movies video. I'm, of course, Spike Knight, and in these videos, I love talking about things, movies and TV, and whatever I want, whenever I want. And in today's video, I'm reviewing Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die. What a name for a film. So, let's get into it, shall we? Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die is a new film from Gore Verbinski. Gore Verbinski, who's probably best known for directing the likes of the animated movie Rango, which I haven't seen, but I know a lot of people like. It was well received. He also directed the American remake of The Ring, a horror movie which was not so well received, and he directed The Lone Ranger, which starred Johnny Depp and Armie Hammer, two actors who, well, you wouldn't see on screen together ever again, would you now? Yes, he directed that movie, and I have seen The Lone Ranger, and my brother is a huge fan of it, actually. I've seen him rewatching it a lot of times, but I think I've only seen it the full way through once, and I don't remember enjoying it too much. However, Gore Verbinski also directed a little-known movie you might have heard of called The Weatherman with Nicolas Cage, which I have seen and I remember enjoying quite a bit. I haven't seen it in about 10 years, but I still remember enjoying. And he directed the first three Pirates of the Caribbean movies. The first two of which I like a lot. I mean, the first one is easily the best. The first Pirates of the Caribbean movie is a Disney classic, and you know what? I think the second film, Dead Man's Chest, is a very worthy follow-up. The third film, it's okay, it kind of loses its steam, but it has its moments. There's still good parts to the third film nonetheless, and that's probably what he's best known for directing. The first three Pirates of the Caribbean movies, and in particular, the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, which, as I just said, is still considered this Disney classic, you know? And this is his first film in 10 years. From what I found out on Google, he hasn't directed a movie since 2016, and the movie directed in 2016 was A Cure for Wellness, which wasn't a well-received film. I haven't seen it, so I can't comment on it, but he hasn't directed a movie since then. And I'm always interested when filmmakers come back from their hideout, you know what I mean? When they take a break from directing or from filmmaking for a while and then come back with a new movie, because then I always think, oh, what have they been cooking up for so long, you know? What have they been working on? And so immediately, when I heard that Gore Verbinski, the guy who directed the first Pirates of the Caribbean movie, was coming back to direct a new movie, I was like, okay, I want to see that. I was immediately interested in seeing it. Plus, I got more interested once I heard the cast for this movie. So you have Academy Award winner Sam Rockwell in arguably the lead role in the film. You also have Juno Temple in this movie, who seems to be popping up in everything and steals the show when she pops up in everything. You know, you've got her in quite a big role in the film. Haley Lee Richardson, who's been, you know, he's been blowing up since her role in The White Lotus season 2. She's got a big role in this film. Michael Pena, who you might have seen in loads of movies, he's got a big role in there. Zazie Beetz, again, you might have seen in loads of movies, she's got a big role in this film. And British comedy actor Asim Chowdhury, apologies if I mispronounced his name there, he has also got quite a big role in the film, which is kind of unexpected, you know, to have a British actor alongside some of those actors that I've just mentioned. Nevertheless, you have a stacked cast for this film, which did get me interested in seeing it. Plus, I got even more interested in seeing it when I heard what the film was about. Now, I also want to say I knew barely anything about the film before going and seeing it at the cinema yesterday, but I had heard that it was about the threat of AI. The ever-growing threat of AI, which is becoming more and more important to talk about in all areas as time goes on and as the future gets nearer and nearer, you know? I'm always interested in films or TV shows that tackle the topic of AI, because it's a topic that I think a lot of people, again, need to be talking about more. And when I heard that this film was about the threat of AI, and I was like, when I heard that it was about the threat of AI, I was thinking, okay, that's got me hooked. I want to see how they tackle it. So yes, I was very interested in seeing this film. I wouldn't say I was very excited about it, but I wanted to see it, particularly because it's Gore Verbinski's first film in 10 years, at least as far as I am aware. However, I knew barely anything about the film before seeing it, apart from the fact that it was about the threat of AI. That's all I'd heard about the film before seeing it yesterday. And the Google plot synopsis for the film goes as follows. Claiming to be from the future, a man, played by Sam Rockwell in this film, takes hostages at a Los Angeles diner to recruit unlikely heroes to help him save the world. And that's pretty much everything you need to know about the film before seeing it. There's a lot more to it. This film is 2 hours and 30 minutes, and it packs a lot in there, but on the surface, that's everything you need to know about the film before seeing it. And honestly, I thought this film was fine. It has its moments, and I'm by no means saying that it's a terrible movie, because I don't think it is. There's a lot of great parts to it. But, and I hate to say this, because I'm somebody who encourages original movies, you know what I mean? Like, when people say, oh, Hollywood doesn't make any original films anymore, I'm like, yes they do, you just don't go and see them. The amount of times I see that online, when people say, oh, Hollywood doesn't make original films anymore, no they do, people just don't go and see them. And I love when a great new original movie comes out, and I was hoping that was going to be the case with this film. But I hate to say it, I remember leaving the cinema yesterday and just feeling so underwhelmed by the way this film tied everything up. The finale left a lot to be desired. It just started to throw ideas in there, and it became this incoherent mess. I was like, what's going on now? Why? What's this? Why is this character doing this? I don't really think this film stuck the landing. But, again, it has its moments. There's so many good parts to it. I thought the performances worked well. The characters all have something interesting about them. And because of the way the film is structured, I'm not going to go into details in how it's structured, but because of the way the film is structured, there was some storylines really get to shine more than others. And there were some storylines in the movie which felt like a great Black Mirror episode. But that's kind of also the problem with this film. It reminds you of a lot of other movies that you've already seen, and TV shows that, which have done the ideas in this movie, but done them a lot better. This film, you know, it's trying to be something unique, and trying to be something wildly original. But when I was watching it, I just couldn't help but think, I've seen that in another movie, and I've seen that done a lot better. I've seen that in another TV show, and I've seen that idea done a lot better in that TV show, you know? And I didn't really want that feeling whilst watching this film, but it kept coming back to me nonetheless. Like there's a big part of this movie which borrows from Terminator. There's another big part of this film which borrows from the Steven Spielberg movie Ready Player One, which came out in 2018. And there's another part of this film which borrows a lot from Black Mirror, which again, as what he said, felt like a great Black Mirror episode. And then I was actually thinking, oh no wait, it was done in Black Mirror, and it was actually done better in Black Mirror. There's a part of this film which feels like the Edgar Wright movie Shaun of the Dead, and then feels like another Edgar Wright movie, The World's End. You know, there's parts of this film where it's like, oh, you reminded me of Shaun of the Dead and The World's End. Two films I like a hell of a lot, and two films, you know what, I think I'd rather be watching over this movie. And there's a part of this movie as well, there's something to do with one of the characters where they're allergic to electricity, which reminded me of the Breaking Bad spin-off Better Call Saul, which I only watched for the first time a good couple of months ago now, and I absolutely loved. But there's a part of Better Call Saul where our main character, Saul, aka Jimmy, he's got two different names in that show. If you've seen the show, you know why. He's got a brother in that show called Chuck who is allergic to electricity, and that is done so much better in Better Call Saul than it is done in this film. And there are lots of instances like that throughout this movie. There's even a bit of this film which reminded me of Toy Story, or one of the Toy Story movies. I can't remember which because I haven't seen them in quite a bit of time, but I was watching this film and yeah, there's so many parts to it which remind me of like, oh yeah, I've seen that done in another movie, I've seen that done in another TV show. but better. And that's not a feeling you want to have whilst watching this film. You want to be getting this feeling like, oh my god, I haven't seen this tackled before, and I'm loving the way it's tackled here. Or, okay, it's borrowing ideas from other TV shows and other films, but it's still doing it well. You know, films and TV shows have done that in the past. They've borrowed ideas off other movies and other TV shows. Shaun of the Dead and The World's End are big examples of that. They borrow loads of ideas of classic movies, but they do it in a way which feels original and feels new and feels fresh, you know what I mean? They feel like their own beast. Whilst this film wants to be that, it wants to be this new sort of Shaun of the Dead type movie, but in my opinion, it's not, because it lacks that spark, it lacks that excitement, it lacks that sense of urgency that it needed to really make it this wildly entertaining time, and it just wasn't for me. There were great entertaining parts to the film, for sure. I was having a good time in sections of the movie, but then when the film would take a turn narratively and would go in a different direction, I'd be like, oh no, you lose my interest again, and I'm becoming more unengaged in the movie with the direction you're taking it. And yeah, there's just a lot of this movie which reminded me of what I've seen before, and then remind me that the things I've seen before, that have done these ideas before, have done them a lot better. And there's also parts of the movie I was just thinking, you needed to cut it down here, cut out all this unnecessary rubbish, and just focus on the main storyline, and make it flow better. Because without going into spoilers, I'm not going to give anything away about this movie, because I do think it'll find an audience, and I do think there'll be people out there who enjoy it. I mean, people out there are enjoying it. I have seen some people review this film positively, and review it actually very positively at that. So I'm not going to give anything away in case you end up watching this film and you end up enjoying it. But there's something in this movie to do with a cat, okay? There's something in this film to do with a cat. And I was watching the film in the cinema yesterday, and I didn't want to say this out loud because there was two people quite close to me in the cinema, but I just, as soon as this thing with this cat came on the screen, I was like, oh, really? Why are we doing this? What is the purpose of this? And I can't think of a purpose of the whole thing to do with a cat in this movie. If you've seen the film, you know what I'm talking about. If you haven't seen the film, well, I don't think you're missing out on much in the cat scenario. That's all I'm going to say. That part of the film really annoyed me. And it annoyed me even more so because it felt like time wasting. And that thing to do with the cat is in the last, I don't know, half an hour to 40 minutes of the movie. Maybe it's actually a bit longer than that. Maybe it was in the last hour of the film. Anyway, as soon as you get into the final act, the film's pulling in all these different directions, and the best parts of the movie, almost forgotten about, it just becomes a bit of a drag, a bit of a slog to sit through. I was watching the final act of the movie thinking, okay, speed things up here, get to the point, get to the conclusion, get to the destination. But when I was watching the final act, it didn't feel like there was a destination in sight. It just felt like I was going around a weird maze and I couldn't find my way out, you know what I mean? Like, I was watching this film and I was watching the final act thinking, oh, you could have done something great with the final act. You could have stuck the landing and, brought it home, but they just didn't. And the final act left me feeling so deflated. Like, what's going on? What's happening here? Why is the character doing that? Why is this happening? And I just didn't get that. And also, the filmmakers behind this movie do not understand what the word subtle means, because none of this movie is subtle, and it could have been a lot more effective if it was subtle, but it's so on the nose. To the point I was like, oh, come on, you're making your point here, but you're making it a bit too much. Tone it down a bit. That being said, I know I've complained quite a bit about the film there, but it does have its moments. It really does. All the performances work well for the movie that they're in, Everyone's trying to give it their all with what they have been given. I do think certain characters are given a bit more to play around with than other characters. Like Juno Temple is given quite a lot to play around with, and I think that's actually why her character shines more than other characters. Same with Hayley Lee Richardson, who I actually think stands out in this film more than I thought she was going to. And Sam Rockwell, I mean, I will say, I was watching Sam Rockwell in the film and I was thinking, it almost feels like, you could just switch his character with Johnny Depp as Jack Sparrow, and the line would just be delivered exactly the same. It almost feels like they wrote the lead with sort of a Jack Sparrow type personality, which is ironic because, like I said, this is from the same person who directed the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies, the same person who directed this film, directed the first 3 Pirates of the Caribbean movies, which of course Jack Sparrow the lead in. But still, I thought Sam Rockwell did a good job with the lead role that he's given, with the arguable, because he's not, you could argue that he's not the lead of the film, but I would argue he is. He's given a good, he's given some good stuff to do, and he's entertaining to watch in the film, and the opening scene works well. I do think it could have been slightly edited down. The opening scene goes on for a bit too long, but you know, it's alright. And there are parts of the movie, because again, the way it's structured, there are parts of the movie which grab you emotionally and grab you narratively, and you go, okay, this is quite an interesting idea. And there's a lot of commentary in this movie, a lot of social commentary, which I think is worth discussing and it's worth exploring, particularly in a film of this nature. But I just wish the execution was so much better. I wish the writing was so much better, and I wish the directing was so much better, because it just feels sloppy in parts, and it feels like Gore Verbinski, who directed this movie, just got to make the movie he wanted to make, and like there was no producer telling him, cut that down, cut that out, why is that important? It feels like he was given complete creative freedom, which can work for a director, it can work, but there's also big instances where it doesn't work. And I think this is one of those instances where giving a filmmaker complete creative control, and I'm not sure he did have complete creative control, by the way, I'm just assuming he did because of the way the film feels and the way the film flows, but let's say for the purpose of this video today that he did have complete creative control. I think this is one of those instances where that wasn't the best. I think you should have had someone come in and go, take that out, take that out, take that out, and look, you got a much better movie. Because the thing is, this film, I think, as what he mentioned, goes on for 2 hours and 13 minutes. It's a not short movie by any means. And I think within this 2 hour and 13 minute overlong movie, you have a great shorter film in there, from which is about 1 hour and 40 minutes, maybe even shorter than that. But because it feels like so much time wasting in the film, I struggle to enjoy it the way I wanted to, the way I hoped I would. You know, and I think the film thinks it's a lot more unique than it actually is. When at the end of the day, I just think it wants to be this new sort of Shaun of the Dead type movie, but struggles because it's not nearly as entertaining as Shaun of the Dead, or The World's End for that matter, which are both from the same filmmakers and star many of the same actors. You know, it's not nearly as entertaining as Shaun of the Dead or The World's End, and it's not nearly as good as it should be, particularly with the subject matter it's dealing with. The social commentary at times really works well in this film. Again, there are good parts to it. The storylines are parts of the movie where, like, I am super into this. I was glued into what was going on, particularly with Juno Temple and Haley Louise Richardson's characters in this movie. But other parts of the film just felt like we were time wasting and doing things for the sake of it, because why not? And I understand that might also be the point of the movie, but that still doesn't mean that I enjoyed it, you know? It had potential, this movie. It had a lot of potential. But it ends up becoming this overlong and disappointing movie that just doesn't stick the landing and has a lot to say, but isn't quite sure how to say it. So, it's got some good parts, and, you know, I wouldn't not recommend it, because I can see people really enjoying it. It just wasn't for me. And so, all in all, I'm going to say that good luck, have fun, don't die, which again is a great name, but I don't think really works with the type of film this is. But anyway, I'm going to say that good luck, have fun, don't die. I'm going to say that it's a 5 out of 10. I'm giving it that rating because, you know, there's about, if I'm being generous, there's about half of this movie that I actually quite enjoyed. There's a whole segment of the film I actually thought was great, but that quickly went away, and the film took a different direction that just, I don't know, felt more like time wasting than it had any sort of urgency to it. You know, the film needed that urgency, and I thought it was going to have that urgency, after a particular point in the film. I almost felt that was a turning point early on where I was like, okay, now we're cooking with gas, you know, but we never really went anywhere with that gas. That's kind of what it felt like. It's a shame because I want there to be more great original movies, and I do think if this was great, it would be finding more of an audience. And I do think this film will find an audience, by the way. I'm not one of these people who doesn't think it will. No, I do think this film will easily find an audience, and I can see it becoming a cult classic in years to come. I can see that happening for sure. I mean, maybe not even a cult classic. I can see it becoming a familiar favourite for so many people. I don't know why I started to do a bit of an accent there, but anyway, point I'm making is I can see it's becoming a familiar favourite, and I can see a lot of people enjoying this going forward. But I just wish I was one of those people, and unfortunately, I was not. I was left so underwhelmed by the end of this film. I was left confused as well. And you never want to really be confused coming out of a movie. At least, not in the way this film leaves you confused. It had potential. There's a good film in this movie. But it's bogged down by all this time wasting and weird creative choices which maybe sound good on paper but don't work in the execution and just leave you scratching your head more than having a grin. You know what I mean? I really wanted to come out of this film going, I had a whale of a time watching that, but I would be lying if I said that was the case. Yeah, it was disappointing. Not without its merits. Yeah, not without its great parts, but I was hoping for more. You know? I was hoping for more. So yeah, this film wasn't really for me in the end, but still, there are parts of it which I did like, and I'm not going to not recommend it to anyone. But I was hoping for more. And so, all in all, as I already said, and I was going to say once more in this video today, good luck, have fun, don't die, is a 5 out of 10 from me. Anyway guys, that's it for today's video. If you have seen Good Luck, Have Fun, Don't Die, and you enjoyed it, please let me know why I'm wrong in the comment section below. Yes, whatever your thoughts are on this film, please let me know in the comment section below. And as always, thank you for watching. I don't know why I slammed that so hard. As always, thank you for watching this video today. And if you haven't yet, please click down below and like and subscribe on this video. And look forward to so many more videos coming very, very soon on this channel. As I already said, thank you for watching this video today. And I will see you guys again soon. But bye for now. Bye.